You're watching the Gog Pod. Today on the channel, we have got Laura Brannan. How's it going today?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm absolutely fantastic. After a brilliant result on Saturday against Hibs, I don't think the week can go any better, to be honest.
I know it's such an amazing feeling, like how much winning a game can bring,
Oh, yeah.
just to that overall happiness, and it's just we've not enough of it this season. So to see when it comes, it's just like so special. It's
Yeah.
like memories of last season all over again. You're just like want it all the time, want it every week.
Except, to be fair, we did not win at Hibs last season. So we're already one up on that front. It's
Exactly.
small victories. But anyway, the first question I'm going to start off with, if you could have a Wikipedia page about yourself, what would you want your first paragraph to say?
Wow. Probably that I get paid to watch football. Because I feel like I've kind of achieved what I set out to do.
Yeah.
When I was at school, the teachers would always say, like, what do you want to do? Like, what you're picking your subjects and stuff. And I used to say to them, I want to get paid to watch football.
Mm-hmm.
And at that age, I didn't know what my skill set was. I was about maybe what age were you when you start your standard grade? So I was maybe about 13 or something.
Right.
And I didn't know, I went through like, do I want to be a physio? Do I want to be a dietitian? I'd went through all the kind of options. Playing football was never an option for me. I've never been good at playing football.
Oh.
So then I thought, well, I kind of got into the kind of, I was quite good at writing when I was younger.
All
So I
right.
thought,
Yeah.
right, something kind of media based could be good. But I just kind of said to the teachers, I just want to get paid to watch football. And I kind of wanted them to kind of point me in the right direction. And
They didn't do that, did they?
she laughed at me um, and told me to stop being stupid, pick a realistic job. I'm sorry, I never said I wanted to be a lawyer or a doctor. So I just kind of didn't really listen to her. So I kind of feel like I've achieved that and got one up on her at the same time.
Uh, like when I had that sort of conversation, because I was sort of establishing myself as a YouTuber, when I was in school, like sixth year, I had that meeting, and the teacher says, like, what do you want to do? I said, well, I've got a YouTube channel. I want to hopefully, the end goal is to maybe develop a full time career out of it. And she just rolled her eyes.
No.
I think it's just something like, I think tradition has something against the creative industries, and it's just so difficult, isn't it?
I know. I think because the media changes so quickly as well, that when you're of a certain age, you're not quite keeping up with it. So
Right.
somebody who doesn't seem that old might actually just not get what is the latest thing that's like you look at things like TikTok and stuff like that. I
I,
mean, people my age are probably thinking, "Oh, I'm too old. I don't quite get it." And it's like, well,
I don't get it.
that's just showing how young people are starting out on TikTok and how much that's taken over. And you think of your teachers, like
Oh,
it's
they don't know whether it's talk tech or anything else. No,
no.
because like it took me about 8 or 9 months to actually get on TikTok, because I was like, I don't I don't know what to expect here, so I'll just stay off it as long as possible. But I've finally been swayed.
Oh, it's addictive. It's so addictive.
That is
It's the
far too
sort
much.
of thing that you start at midnight and you're still up watching it at 3 in the morning.
Try five.
Oh, just I've lost many hours of sleep just getting caught in holes, dark holes of cats and dog videos and stuff like that.
Oh no, absolutely. So you're currently the senior producer. Is that the official role at
Yep,
Motherwell Football Club? Uh,
that's the official title.
yes. So for those at home who are completely unaware, what does that entail?
So senior producer is sort of, well, you think of the media content. So there's a very small media team we've got at Motherwell, and I oversee all the video content that, so anything you watch on social media that comes from the Motherwell site, the Motherwell social platforms. It's kind of, I'm kind of, I kind of in charge of that to an element of I'm either filming the content or I am editing the content or I am coming up with the ideas or putting the plans in place and just sort of making sure it all kind of comes together and all all happens really. I kind of, in terms of videos, I make it happen.
Wow, it's pretty impressive. So basically, if you see like Declan Gallagher laughing at whatever Sherwin Seedorf has to say, it's down to Laura.
Chances are that I'm the person behind the camera. And if I'm not, I'm probably the person that's edited it. And I've also the person who has put it into the system and renamed it as a certain thing and put it into its appropriate folder, made sure it's all backed up and done all the boring background side of things
All
as
the
well.
metadata.
Yep.
Oh god, we're coming out with all the geeky terms now. Aye, so also in your career, you spent just over a year working as a producer for the YouTube channel Copa 90, which I'm sure a lot of football fans will be aware of, which I was addicted to all the content when I was sort of growing up, like when I was like 15, 16, I was like, whatever Ellie Mengen is doing, I want to be doing 10 times better. That was me, like, setting my goals early, because I love the Derby Day series. I just love the sort of aspect of traveling to watch the football and documenting your experiences. So do you have any key highlights from your time there?
Oh, Copa 90 was one of the best years of my life. It was fantastic. So I'd kind of outgrown my time at STV. When I was there, I was one of the reporters for the sports desk, and I'd kind of got a bit bored of news and journalism in general and stuff. And I just kind of felt like it was quite mundane. I was doing the same things every day that they weren't really. I was kind of becoming more creative, and that wasn't quite what they were looking for. So I kind of outgrew it and wanted to do something completely different. And that's when I decided to try and get into production side of things and kind of do more with a camera, more behind a camera, to be honest. And like yourself, I absolutely loved Copa 90. I loved everything Ellie did and like all these guys. And actually, when I was at STV, we did a pre-season preview of every Premiership team, and the team of three of us went round Scotland to each of the clubs, and we did a style of video that was loosely based on the style of Copa 90. That was where we kind of took our inspiration from. And then, not coinciding with that, not that it was related, but in line with that, one of the guys I knew through the Tartan Army, he knew somebody at Copa 90 and they were looking to do a video up in Scotland. So he kind of recommended they got in touch with me. So I did that, took part in that, and just kind of kept contacts ever since. And I kind of kept in with them, was like, I'd love to know more about it and how it all works and stuff. And ended up, when a job came up, they came to me and were like, do you want to apply for this? Because we know you're really keen and we kind of like what you do and stuff. So I did that. And I got it and I moved down to London on my own. Didn't know anyone down there. Had never lived on my own before. So it was just a completely different style of job, completely different lifestyle, totally different city. And of course you get your struggles at first settling in. You're like, I don't know anyone, I have no friends and stuff. See when you kind of break through that barrier, it is incredible. I was never a big fan of London in general because I was always just doing it like a tourist. And see when you see it as a person who lives there, it's so different. You avoid all the zone one nonsense, the Union Jacks and everything, and the tourist hotspots and things, and see if you actually break out and you go further afield and you've got your pubs and you've got your hotspots and stuff, and you like everywhere your friends are and things, it becomes just a way of life. It was so good. And in terms of the actual job itself, my God, I mean, I was traveling the world making documentaries about football and football fans and culture, and it was just incredible. And I'm a really big fan of the ultra scene, and just the kind of the spectacle in the stands, the songs, the even the politics that go into it, so to speak, and the rivalry between different sets of fans. Obviously, that I know I've kind of spoke about before on Twitter and things, the pyro and the smoke bombs and everything like that. And I love all of that. And Copa 90 celebrated that, which is something you don't normally get like in Scottish football. So I'd never really been a part of a place that wanted to celebrate it and go big on it. So it was absolutely amazing to get to go to these countries and grounds and stadiums and games where you knew there was going to be a lot of pyro and a lot of smoke bombs. And there was one game we went to, it was the Eternal Derby in Split, and we'd been warned. we'd been warned about it. We were told, right, I think it was in the 60th minute, we're like, it's going to go crazy. And it did. It was, I mean, I nearly got hit by a lighter. It was like that far away from me, because when I was like in the kind of concourse bit or in front of behind the goals, like the racetrack area, and it went nuts. It got ruined slightly because they conceded a goal during that time, so it kind of fizzles out a wee bit. You gain that momentum, then it fizzles out because of what happens on the pitch. So it wasn't as good as what I heard it was going to be, but just that spectacle of see when you knew a big display like that was going to happen, and then the whole behind the stand just goes like in flames. And then you've got obviously like in Croatia they've got like the big barriers that like the gates that divide the fans from the pitch, even though it's miles back, there's a big racetrack. You see guys that are like climbing that and sitting on top of it, and the capos are like sitting on top of it, clapping along and getting everyone going. And I mean, see, with a camera in your hand, that's like a dream, because you're like right in there getting the shots of them, and you're just watching it thinking, jackpot, that's the money shot, that's amazing.
Absolutely. That's fantastic, because like I've seen so many clips from Copa, and like I've just wanted to be there in that moment with you. Like I don't care if I'm even if I'm the lens cap that's been thrown 50 yards away, I want to be there and just watch that in person. It's just absolutely sensational, and it's a shame that it's sort of frowned upon in Scotland, because I think Scotland has so much potential to have moments like that. Okay, maybe not like put all the fans in cages like they do in the likes of Croatia, Romania, but no, it's just a thing of beauty when you see a stand well lit up and you see everyone participating in one massive movement, and it's just something great.
Oh, absolutely incredible. No, I mean, that's the thing. Everywhere we went with Copa 90, it was right, where's the smoke bombs? Where's the money shots? Where's the colour and everything? I mean, I went to Paris for the World Cup final in 2018 and was part of the march from the fan zone at the Eiffel Tower to, was it the Champs-Elysees they went to? It was up that road, and it was just a march from there up to the Arc de Triomphe. And it was just, you'd walk past, there was like smoke bomb like canisters just lined along the ground. Like people would just put them down, like set them off, like with the smoke was coming out, and they would just leave the canister sitting on the ground and walk on. So anyone walking behind was like walking like in a procession of white, orange, any colour you wanted, just going off. It was amazing. That was I'd said to my boss leading up to that that final, I'd said to him, because obviously England were in the semi-final, and I'd said to him, like, I don't want to be in London if England are in the final. Like, I don't, like, send me anywhere to work, send me home for the day off. I don't care. I don't want to be in England if England are in the final. So I said to him, I was like, before the semi-finals, so France were playing Belgium, and I struck a deal with him. I was like, whoever gets the final between Belgium and France, can I go to Paris or Brussels? I was like, I will personally pay for the transport to go. Just let me go with a camera and I'll film whatever the fans are doing. And I think they knew how desperate I was to not be there for England winning the World Cup, that he agreed to it. And they paid for it and everything, and they let me go. So I just ended up getting the train down to Paris on my own it was just me, my backpack, and I ended up doing it on my phone actually. Didn't even take a camera in the end, did it on my phone. Yep, went to the fan zone. The night before they had a big fireworks display at the Eiffel Tower, which was just incredible. And then the day itself, I mean, it was insane. And then they ended up, I can't remember if you remember this, along that road where everyone was jam-packed at the Arc de Triomphe, they ended up, and I know this kind of happens quite a lot on the continent in France and everything, that the fans started breaking into the shops selling the mopeds and stuff. So they were trying to steal the mopeds to try and like race around, and like flags going out the back of the bikes and everything like that. So it's part of the celebrations and stuff. But obviously the police weren't having any of that. They didn't want to have people breaking into shops. So they started tear gassing right down the main street. And it just, that was the weird experience. That was kind of the first time I felt kind of unsafe. And I kind of felt a wee bit panicky, because the plan was there was going to be fireworks at the Arc de Triomphe when it got dark, but obviously it's summer, it was going to take a while for it to get dark. So everyone was kind of hanging about, but it started being a bit of a stampede and stuff, and people trying to get off the side streets. But then the police had cordoned off the side streets. So like, so she's like bottlenecks everywhere.
Oh, man.
So I was kind of getting out, trying to squeeze out and stuff. You were like walking on people's legs, like ankles and stuff, because there was like no ground left because it was so packed with people. And of course, you're kind of getting like flashbacks to like bad stories of like bombs going off and stuff, and you're thinking the worst. You're like, everyone, you can see the panic in some people's eyes. You're like, right, I need to get out of this now. And then I'm trying to get out, and I'm like texting home, being like, have you seen stories? What's going on? And something happened? Like, because you had no idea if something had happened, like further up or down the street. And that's when like I was getting like texts going, no, it's tear gas. The police are tear gassing. So I was like, right, I'm just going to get out of this. And but it's all part of the experience. I mean,
Oh, of course.
Like, nothing, no one died, and no bombs went off. So it's all part of the story, and it was great. I've got no negative emotions towards it now.
So, what do you think? First game back that Motherwell can play at Fir Park. You've got all this shenanigans happen at Motherwell Cross, Brandon Parade, and as soon as the game kicks off, a full John Hunter stand, and everyone's doing the Viking clap.
With the smoke bombs as well.
Yeah, smoke bombs as well. I mean, I don't think Robert.
I didn't say that.
I don't think Robert would be very happy with it, but
yeah, don't tell him I put ideas in your head, okay?
No, I won't.
You'll know it came from me anyway. No, oh my God, can you imagine that first game back? I mean, I've been dreaming of it for so long now. I think we all kind of thought when the season did start, we all kind of thought maybe like September, October time.
Yeah.
Like, and it's got worse and worse. And you're thinking, when's the next milestone? Is it going to be after Christmas? Then obviously that went drastically wrong.
Went the other way.
Yeah, it's been brutal. I don't think you will find anyone who has been working in Scottish football, and probably football in general, but anyone in Scotland who's been going to games, be it a player, a coach, media, I don't think anyone will actually say they've enjoyed this season. Apart from if your team, like if you're a Rangers fan or something, your team's been successful. But actually for the experience of match days, it's not fun. It's like, as much as every game is obviously important and it's competitive and there's a lot riding on it, it's still got the feel of a friendly.
Yeah.
It's little things like you win a corner, and
then
there's no normally when you get a corner and you're like maybe needing an equalizer or something, everyone's like, right, come on, it's time to go, come on. And there's nothing, and you're kind of thinking, you're looking to like the subs to make the noise, or anyone in the stand, like the additional people that are sitting there, be it extra media people, directors or whatever. You're looking for anyone in the stand to make a noise, to the point where sometimes things happen, say like the away team get a penalty, and see if you've missed the ref literally pointing at the spot, you're thinking, what just happened there?
Yeah.
If a decision goes a certain way and you've not got people near you shouting either for or against it, it's very hard actually sometimes, especially in my role, because I'm filming the games and I'm not filming the actual action a lot of the time. I film players, so I can be on a close-up of Ricky Lamy, for example, while the ball's at the other end of the pitch. Yeah. Because it's not on me to get the actual action. So sometimes things happen where I'm fully focused on a player, and then I'm like, well, what just happened? What was that decision for? Who booted who, and what's the ref showing, what cards he's showing and stuff like that. See, without the fans there to help guide you, it's so difficult, and it's just emotionally different as well. Even winning big games and stuff. Yeah, sure, it's great. I'm very, very lucky in the sense I get to run on the pitch at full time at the majority of grounds and get the players reacting at full time and stuff. But there's a very big difference this season where they do the handshakes and then they congratulate each other and then they walk off. Whereas last year, they do the handshakes, they congratulate each other, and then they'd walk around the pitch and they would clap the fans and they'd react to the fans. And even if it was just a certain wee nod in the direction of the stand, or they literally went up and they were clapping, it was some sort of interaction, and it was...
Oh, what was that?
I think my batteries fell off. I've got fairy lights up and the battery pack's stuck to the wall. I knew that was going to fall off. Didn't hit me in the head though, so it's okay. But yeah, I just think there's just so many elements to it this season that it's just I think everyone is going to have this newfound appreciation for fans, even in half-empty stadiums, which I don't think it'll be. As soon as full stadiums are allowed back, it is going to be incredible. But even if it is a half-full stadium, I don't think people are going to complain anymore.
Oh, absolutely. I'm half expecting Motherwell to see a rise by about 50% of fans at least.
We were saying this. We were saying like we don't know what the first game back is going to be next season. We don't know in terms of fixtures. We don't know when the fans will be allowed back in. But see if that is. I mean, see if that's it could realistically be a League Cup game because obviously they play before the league starts. But we were saying this. We're going see even if it's like Annan at home, you would sell it out. You would sell out every ticket that is available at least.
Absolutely, like
it would be incredible.
I mean, you could even do like promotional schemes for the two guaranteed home games in the League Cup just to boost the numbers. Like, because for me, it's the numbers that makes up for it, not the actual income. It's the fact that we'll have X amount of fans, and that's all we want to see at the moment.
Yeah, it's that noise. It is just to get that noise back again. And I'm looking back on footage from last season, and it's strange, and it's actually kind of emotional. Like you're looking at it and thinking, it looks weird to be seeing players celebrate in front of big stands full of fans, but it's also just kind of sad that I can't really. I mean, I think I said this. I tweeted about the David Turnbull documentary last week, and I just kind of added a wee bit on. See if you watch the last section of it. I can't watch the last section of it getting a lump in my throat because it's just the fact that it's not even just his story. That's a separate thing. His story and everything is obviously the point of it all. But he's coming on as a sub in front of a full subs bench of players that are obviously willing him on. You've got the fans in the stand reacting to him coming off the bench, and it's that noise, and it's just that spectacle. And you just think, God, I'm glad that was last season and not this season because it wouldn't have the same impact.
No, it really wouldn't have. Aye. But I mean, thing is, things we would have been doing if we were in this predicament at this point of the season, like if we were third at this point of the season and we'd missed out on so many great games, it would have just been even more typical. But suppose that's
see fans missing Europe. That absolutely broke my heart. Absolutely broke my heart. And I was kind of saying it watching like the St Johnstone Levy Cup final as well. And as much as going for winning a cup is obviously the dream, it's the ultimate. It's the most realistic thing that Motherwell can achieve in that sense. And you're never going to turn down the chance to win a trophy. Obviously, it's going to be fantastic regardless. But it would just they would lose that magic so much. Absolutely. And I feel so sorry for the St Johnstone fans that could have been one of the greatest days of their life, the fans in that ground. I mean, I've seen it. I worked the 2 cup finals for Motherwell a couple of years ago. I've seen the fans in the stand. I know what it means to everyone. I can see the emotions and stuff. And I can't imagine going through that in an empty Hampden. It would just be heartbreaking.
It'd be awful. It would honestly be awful. I've literally sat in this exact chair all season. Like every game, I've sat in this chair, and I've been still sweating blood, sweat, and tears. It doesn't matter where I am in the world. I'll still turn to watch the Motherwell game. But I mean, what I say one positive about this whole lockdown thing is that we've sort of grown an audience on the channel where we're now doing live watch alongs, which is nowhere near as good as being in the ground, but it's a new brand of content that's sort of given me a boost of 1,000 subscribers. So we've got a bit of that, but at the same time, it really is not the same as going to the game on a Saturday.
No, I mean, even like see the Hamilton Accies game a couple of weeks back, some of the boys came before it and put banners up outside, and it was like a flashback. It was suddenly like, oh, there's colour. And I was going out and I was filming it, and it's nice to have that footage for anything that could come up in the future. And I was even just saying to them, I was like, I really miss you guys. I just miss you guys being around at games and stuff. And they're probably like, who the fuck are you? Like, and you don't know who I am. But I'm just like, I just miss it. I miss that colour. And I mean, we used to lock a camera on the fans last season, just purely to get good content of celebrations when the goal went in and stuff, and anyone that was singing songs and stuff. And we got some amazing footage from it. And it's just one massive gap that's missing. And we've got I'm a neat freak after games. I've got all my different files for each game. And it's just, there's that folder of fans that's missing. That's the one thing that's just want them back.
So what would you say is your favourite Motherwell clip that you have personally filmed?
Oh, two. I've got two.
Oh.
The first one would be the semi-final against Aberdeen, the win at Hampden, when the players all came over and did the thunderclap in front of the fans.
Literal chills.
And I think a lot of fans still use the picture. I've got it as my timeline picture on Twitter.
I still have it.
Because I'm also in it. A lot of people use the picture but cut me out because I'm right at the end. So I'm always just like, oh, thanks for that. That was one of the earliest games I got involved with. That season was the first season I got involved, and it was very much a come along on a Saturday when you can, because obviously I had a different job at the time, and when you can, come and help out. And it was very early days of when Grant was in the job as head of media, and he'd kind of came in with a plan of changing around the video content and stuff. And I'd worked with Grant at STV. We knew each other's way of working and stuff, and that's when he'd said to me, I'd like to get you in to kind of do some of the stuff on a match day if you're around. And it was still very early stages at that time. They didn't really have a plan. I was kind of coming in going, right, give me a camera and I'll kind of do my thing. No one really kind of gave me many instructions at that point. It was film the game, film the fans, get what you can, and we'll see what we can make out of it. They got me a pass to go on the pitch at full time if we won. As a Scotland fan, that to me was insane. I was just like, I'm on the hallowed Hampden turf. That's how's that happened? When you got over that excitement, the boys obviously came over and did the thunderclap, and I had locked a camera on the fans at the front. I think that's actually the time when Dean Cornelius was in with the fans as well.
Yeah, it was, because I think I was on. I think I was.
You in it as well?
I was on it as well because, because of where I was actually much further up in the first half, because I couldn't find my mates, and we ended up coming down at half time when we were 2-0 up, and I just managed to just squeeze my way in. I didn't care what seat I was in or whose seat I was on top of, as long as I was in that just melee.
That's class.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so we had that with the camera locked on the fans, and then I was filming the players, and they just started obviously celebrating after they did the clap with everyone. They were all jumping about. I think it was Chris Cadden I can't remember if it was Grimmy was hugging after it, and it was just I think at that I'd love to say that it was great judgment and everything that it managed to pull that off, but I was so raw at that stage, and we didn't really have a plan. That it was being in the right place at the right time, and having the kind of mindset to not get carried away and hold the camera still, which sounds stupid, but it's such an important, it's so important. There's so many things have been ruined footage wise that we've had over the years, and we've went, that would have been amazing if the camera hadn't been moving. And I think it's probably one of the things I'm proudest of, is actually being able to keep a steady hand at that point, and you remove yourself from the emotion. No matter how caught up you are in it, you can't suddenly be one of them, jumping up and down and pretend you're one of the players, the fans, or anything like that. You've got to kind of remove yourself from that situation and be, no, I'm the steady hand and I am the eyes of everyone here. So I've got to stay stationary. So I think that's one of my favourites. And the other bit of footage was the fans at Ross County on Boxing Day last year. Because That was class.
That
That was
honestly superb. I don't know if you had the opportunity to watch my vlog from that, but before Declan Gallagher scored the winning goal, I said, I'm sensing a Declan Gallagher header here.
Oh my god.
And then 10 seconds later, Polway swings in the corner. Bosh, Declan Gallagher, 2-1. And I was just turned the camera in. It's like, what the fuck did I just say? And it was just going absolutely mental. And it was like that for the next 8 minutes. And it was absolutely amazing.
Honestly, like I as a Scotland fan, I don't have many big moments like that. So I mean, as a football fan, probably as a football fan of a domestic club, people have a lot more on average.
Yeah.
I don't. I as last minute goals go, last minute winners. I mean, you're talking the Lee Griffiths double against England, which then ended up in heartbreak minutes later, so that doesn't count. And then the Slovakia win the last minute in the World Cup qualifiers. That's a whole different story I can go into later if you want. But that one was, that's the two kind of moments in my entire 20 years of liking football. That's all I can really turn to in terms of the most dramatic moments and the best last minute winners. And I've seen so many other teams do it and been jealous that was suddenly like, that was my moment for Motherwell. And it's still my favourite game to have covered for Motherwell because, I mean, half time, I think we were all thinking, what, come on here, like, we need to turn this around, this is terrible. And the fans had obviously, it was a great away day for everyone. Boxing Day, I mean, it was perfect. I think when the fixtures came out, no one was kind of amused about it, but it turned out to be a great trip for everyone in that sense. I was filming right down, almost at the corner flag, the one that Polly took the corner from, so right in front of the fans. And the moment the goal went in, carnage. I remember Mark Gillespie running the length of the pitch and suddenly, and I could see him at the corner of my eye, but I had the camera locked on. I can't remember who he jumped on. Was it Decky he jumped on? I can't remember. But whoever he jumped on, he's back. I could see him running into the shot. And I was like, oh my God, hold it. This is amazing. So suddenly he's coming up thinking, I've never had the goalie celebrating like this before. Fans are obviously going mental. And then that just went right into full time, which was just, I mean, we were right up in front of the fans, just filming, and it was every song possible. It was just, and I think it was a twist and shout from that everyone was just, everyone was just so close. It's because it's such a tight ground as well. It was amazing. It was so good. I mean, the stewards weren't happy with me filming it, but I
was going to bring that up, but I was going to wait till in case you weren't wanting to talk about that. But what actually did the steward say to you?
So the steward claimed I was inciting a riot.
No, that was a mad French guy that was 10 feet long.
Yeah, I remember that. And I kind of felt, well, I think the winning goal may be incited a riot, and I don't think it's a bad riot.
No, it was well-intentioned.
Yeah, I mean, what I think happened was, so I'd been on the pitch filming the full-time interview, and I'd said to Ali, who also does obviously for media, he was also on the pitch filming full-time stuff, and I said to him, go and get the fans, and then we wanted to get in the dressing room when the players went off. So when the boys had all went down the tunnel, I ran up to Ali and said, go down to the dressing room, I'll cover you and I'll do the fans because I'm done here. So he ran down to get the dressing room and I replaced him literally in the same spot he'd been filming the fans in, and took his position. And all of a sudden the steward had an issue with that. They hadn't had an issue before, but they came over and had an issue then and was like, no, you can't stand there. And I was like, I can, because I've got a pass. I've had permission to stand here.
The guy's pure trying to block the
cameras. Yeah, and that to me, that riles me, because I'm thinking, well, service with a smile. I'm going to wind you up because I'm not going to do it. I mean, it was noisy. I couldn't hear him. I couldn't hear his instructions. I was just filming until my boss told me not to.
Exactly. But yeah, like I've never got on well with stewards up in the north. Like twice at Pittodrie I've been told off for filming. Like I actually I got the Liam Donnelly header at Pittodrie on film and us celebrating because it was such a big goal in that season.
Yeah.
And then because I do a halftime bit where I talk about what's happened in the game so far, and then all you see in the background is just stewards start to gather, and then as soon as I turn off the camera, they're like right completely on me. They were, and I actually had a word with Grant about a week later, saying like, what do I do here going forward? Because of course I want to sort of bring in the fan experience, because I feel like I'm one of very few people who do that in Scottish football. And I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
And it was just like there was about 10 around us, and just me and my mate Declan and Duncan, we were just all and Ross, we were all just completely surrounded, and we just had to keep quiet for the second half. Just as well, there was nothing that happened in the second.
Nothing happened.
Otherwise, I'd have missed on some potentially good shots. But
that's insane. That winds me up so much. Just Stewards wind me up.
Going forward, I'm probably going to have to ask you for a press pass.
But then there's that element of him with the fans, and that's the magic
exactly.
of it. The thing was, if you were doing that on your phone, no one would have an issue with it.
Exactly.
That's what's annoying. Yeah. It's a cultural thing, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It really is. Like, I mean, a lot of older people will be like completely frowning at what we do anyway, because that's not what they're used to. But if we were to inspire the next generation of football fans to say, look, if you were wanting to capture your experience of your day out, I'm completely fine with that. But I'll always stick to the rule of you can't publish any footage or that until 12 o'clock. I know that rule. I've always stuck by that.
And it's also, that rule's on the pitch. Mm-hmm. So, and you're not filming the action on the pitch, you're filming the action off it.
Exactly.
That annoys me. It's old school thinking, isn't it? There's a lot of problems in Scottish football where people don't want to move forward.
No, they're always looking on the past, but hopefully once the Euros have been and gone, we'll be able to look forward on the future. But yes, so changing the subject a wee bit here, while you are obviously still at Motherwell, you're also part of the Scottish Totally Football podcast. How do you feel about podcasting in general?
See, to be honest, I've never really warmed to podcasting. I think it's because I struggle to find what I'm looking for. I'm quite impatient. So I tend to be like, I don't have time to just sit and scroll through like podcasts and see what's out there. And I only ever really think about it when I'm about to go for a drive or I'm about to go out my bike and I want something to listen there and then. I want something good to listen to. And I don't really have the patience to be like, I'll try this out, I'll try that out, see if it's any good. I might get bored after 10, 15 minutes and put it off, but I'll try it. So I just kind of like to know what's there. I've always actually looked for a podcast, and I've never really found it, again, probably for the same reasons, is just something that rounds up kind of the entertainment news of film reviews of films coming out that week. I mean, I would always say in the cinema, but I guess things are kind of changing just now with them closed. So even things that are coming out on streaming services, new to streaming services, new seasons of shows that are coming out, like any new films that are getting made, any big like music news or anything like that, or theatre news or something, just some sort of entertainment wise, not your kind of gossip of who's going out with who. I'm not interested in that side of things, but I can never find it because my problem is when I go into something like the Empire podcast or something, they end up talking for about 20 minutes of just small talk between themselves before they actually get to the
small talk that loses you.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know you, and I don't really care, and I like to, if I know I'm going to tune in and get it directly there and then, great. So I kind of feel like, I mean, I listen to obviously Totally podcast just to kind of check everything's okay. But I listen to Sports Sound religiously. I kind of now, since I lived in London, I've got into the habit now. I don't listen live. I listen the next morning when I'm getting ready for work, and then on the drive into work. So I'm always kind of a few hours behind. But I'm into that like every day, pretty much, just because I know it's just going to get straight into the point, and it's going to be talking about the subject that I want to hear about, and that is the day's news in that sense. It's the hot topics.
Fair game. I completely respect that because like I'm pretty much the same. Like I'll listen to the odd True Geordie podcast or just the sort of the main YouTubers that do the sort of podcast. I was quite mainstream a few years ago, but I don't really listen to many podcasts as such because like one thing I'm usually trying to work out my own stuff in terms trying not to sound selfish, but I'm either trying to sort my next podcast guest or I'm either doing work on the next live stream at the moment. It's just trying to cater for what I can listen to while I'm doing work and my own stuff. So I do try like I try and specify in like football general stuff because that's what I'm into, and I want to try just find the next story about football and see if there's something that no one else has told yet.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. Yeah. Yeah, hearing different stories and stuff's good. I do like just kind of hearing factual things. During lockdown, last year when I was actually off, while working from home, and I did a lot of cycling like every day. I did get like an Audible subscription, and I found myself listening to the podcast through Audible, rather than novels. And I kind of developed I kind of realised that I didn't really like listening to novels, spoken word. I don't know if it was just hearing people take on the characters' voices that I wasn't quite keen on. I just never really warmed to it. Whereas I was finding myself downloading autobiographies and biographies and things and listening to the different podcasts and stuff through that. So that was quite interesting, and just kind of fell out of the wayside when we got to go back to work again. Just kind of fell out the habit of it, really.
So what was it like working at the club while lockdown was on, or when you couldn't?
This is going to be like when people talk about the war and they go back,
It
they
is.
like shudder and they're like, "Oh, I can't face this in my memories." It was horrible. I mean, that day when the Aberdeen game got called off will live with me for a long, long time. Friday the 13th. It was that sinking feeling of, nah, this isn't gonna be a week or two. And you try and keep your hopes up. And then it was like 2 weeks after that lockdown got announced, and you're like, I'll be a week or two. And then you suddenly realise, no, it's not. For the first week, I think it was, after the Aberdeen game, the media team still went in. And because we were doing the season ticket campaign at the time, so we had some filming to do around the ground and stuff, and we were like, right, let's just sort of see the lay of the land here. Obviously everyone's off for a week, but we'll play it out here, see how it goes. And it started to feel like a ghost town around Fir Park, and then the heating started to get switched off and stuff, and it was fine in our office because we had like the electric heaters, but then you'd go out to like go to the canteen and stuff and use a microwave, and it was like, oh my god, I need my big jacket on. It was like little things like that where the corridors would be in darkness, and obviously the light sensors would come on when you walk through, and you're like very, very aware that you were the only people in the building. And it just sort of got quieter and quieter, and we thought, right, let's stop wasting petrol here. We're going in just for the sake of going in, and we kind of need to stop this now. So we started working from home, and we tried to kind of think up plans and stuff. And I think every club was kind of doing the retro games and the quizzes and stuff like that. And we tried to kind of stay clear a wee bit of that and try and do something different. We obviously still wanted to keep in touch with the boys, but even they didn't know what was happening, and they were all kind of experiencing different things, and it was kind of a crazy time in that sense. For me personally, I had a lot of end of season roundup videos to do, not knowing when I was getting to use them and not knowing if it was going to all come to a stop sooner rather than later, or we were going to come back and play games. So I kind of took the chance to like we did a big roundup video of all the games, every game of the season, with like the goals, the commentary, and the different celebrations and stuff. And that was a 10-minute video. I did it was the outtakes at the end of the season, so it was all sort of
that was a brilliant video. I love that. Yeah.
The kind of behind the scenes stuff. And these things took a long time. I also boring things, like I had a lot of hard drives to tidy up and stuff like that, so a lot of my time was spent doing that. But I ended up doing a lot of edits during that. Obviously, the season ticket campaign as well. Took up a bit of time with that. And then you start getting more in touch with the boys. And we did a few Zoom calls with some of them. I remember one of them, it was one I did with David Turnbull. And it felt, because I just before like lockdown and everything, we just finished a documentary with him a couple of weeks before it. So my life at that point had been shadowing David Turnbull. Everything was about Turnbull. I mean, I could see him in my sleep. It was just like he was there. He was like, it sounds ridiculous, but I'd wake up and I'd be like, right, what am I doing today? What about David Turnbull? And then you'd go to sleep at God knows 3 a.m. and you'd be like buzzing with all the stuff in your head. And he was ruling my life at that point. And it very quickly went to not just no David Turnbull, but no football in general. So it was weird to adjust in that sense. But then I did a Zoom call with him, just him sitting in his bedroom, and I'm sitting in my kitchen, and we're just chatting away. And it was actually so nice to talk to somebody from work who was not in the media team, who was the only people at that point we were talking to talk to somebody from a different department than the media team, and just to see a familiar face again, and just somebody that, you talk crap with them. You're like, tell me about your walks and stuff. This wasn't even part of the interview. This was like half an hour before we'd even started the interview. You're just chatting away, and it was actually so nice to just have that sort of human side of it and human element again. By the end of it, though, we were desperate to just come back, and obviously everyone was waiting, when can football come back and stuff. And it was so strange when the players came back for pre-season. The restrictions were mental. Even now, with restrictions still in place, you think back to what it was like then. We were going straight to the training ground. So the boys weren't allowed into Fir Park. They were going to training in their training gear. And we were like waiting for them driving down, and we were filming them. They put their windows down, getting tested and stuff. And they were training in little groups of 5 or 6. And there was all the hand sanitizers dotted around the training ground outdoors. And you think back to then, and then slowly you're allowed back into the stadium again, and you're allowed into the gym again. And just
gradually getting back.
Yeah. So I mean, it gets this. I mean, I think now, as much as everyone absolutely hates it, we're kind of used to it. It's like clockwork. I mean, we've long before the government made it mandatory, like in offices and stuff, we were wearing masks around the place. Obviously, when it first comes in, you're like, this is weird, this is horrible, this is so restrictive. Now it's second nature. You get up from your desk and leave your office, mask goes on. The boys, everyone talks to each other with masks on. Everyone's in the canteen around big tables, dotted, like 3 people to a huge table. Everyone's like going up to get their meals at different times, so it's not crowded out and things. It's just little things like that we all hate, but we're all just so used to it now that nobody complains about it. It's just like, fine, just get on with it. We're here, and we'd all much rather be here doing this than being stuck at home again in another lockdown, not knowing what's going to happen. And I feel for like League 1 and League 2 players, because
it must be hell.
God, I'd hate to think of what that would do mentally if we got put. I don't think it'll happen now, but if we had, like at Christmas, obviously, kind of January time, there was a kind of a slight fear at the back of your mind, thinking what's going to happen here. If that had went tits up again, you'd be like, no, that'd be awful.
I actually got to play a bit of FIFA with like Tony, Deck, and David. We'll go in first name terms, as you'll probably know them. Because of course Tony does his streams, and it was like the sort of first couple of weeks of lockdown, I was just sitting playing pro clubs non-stop with like Declan Gallagher, Tony Watt, David Turnbull, and many others. Like Marvin Bartley came on for a couple of, like just dabbling into like different characters of Scottish football. It was almost like Tony Watt was putting his hand into a hat and pulling it a name, and he'd be like, "Oh, let's get him on for a couple of nights."
I think that's class though, and it means that like fans like yourself are seeing them as humans.
I was made up, like, and every time Declan Gallagher took the piss out of Tony for his teeth, I was like, "What? What? Did I miss something?"
I think that's class. I think it's great for the boys to just have like accept people on like that, and and not worry about like who you are or what, like not knowing you personally and stuff, and just being able to remove that sort of star and fan element
Yeah,
and kind of going into just we're a team here. We're all going for the same aim. We're in this together, and I think that's great.
I feel like I'm in a fortunate position because of my YouTube channel. It's sort of allowed me to do that because I feel like I now can reach out to certain footballers and I can still have a wee conversation with them.
Yeah.
Like when I first started doing that, like because I was wanting to do the podcast and like I was doing something for my university dissertation last year, and it was about me. Like this was before lockdown came. I wanted to travel the country, visit as many of my YouTube contacts as possible. Like for example, I was up in Aberdeen once, and this was me traveling from Sunderland. Went up to Aberdeen, and I was sitting in the pub with my mate who's got over 30,000 subscribers, and we were just sitting chatting, and then I got a notification on my phone. Tony Watt had just followed me. I was like, "What?" And without that was not a pun intended, but I was like, what's happening here? So then I just sent him a message saying, "Oh, would you like to do a wee video or a FIFA challenge or something like that?" And he was like, "Aye, sure." And like a week later, I was sitting playing FIFA with him. I was like, I couldn't grasp it, but as the years go on, and I've sort of like, I mean, they are human. We all know that a lot of fans tend to put football players up on a pedestal, and you can never reach them. But one of my goals in my life is to hopefully make that bridge a wee bit like like bring the levels a wee bit closer and
Yeah.
make sure that footballers can actually feel comfortable coming into my podcast and sit and have a chat, and we'll shoot the shit for an hour and see how it goes.
I like that. And I think something like Simon Ferry's podcast has probably helped a lot in that sense, because that's already broken that barrier between the journalist in the interview and someone that the players can just relate to. Albeit most of them know him, so they'll know him on a football level. So still breaking down that barrier to somebody they don't know, but it is that sort of relaxed chat that I think they really buy into. It's less formal. They know you're not trying to catch them out with your answers and stuff and twist their quotes to make it headline news and clickbait and stuff. So no, I think it's definitely it's going in the right direction for that.
Right, you're absolutely right, and I mean we see some absolutely outrageous headlines these days, and I'm not going to name any off the top of my head, but you're just sitting thinking like, how can you actually find it in yourself to write that about a certain footballer and get away with it? Like, I just like, I was actually annoyed at someone tweeting out today that unfortunately Motherwell legend Ian St John is no longer with us, but they tweeted out former Scotland and Liverpool player. I was like, where's his roots?
Yeah, that doesn't get you the headline though, does it? Doesn't get you the clicks.
It doesn't. No, it. I can relate to it because, like, as a YouTuber, I'm trying to get as many views as possible and trying to get a good title. But at the same time, I want to stay true to the content and say, right, this is what's actually in the video,
of course,
and not lie in the thumbnail.
Of course. I know.
But anyway, moving on. We all have a rough idea about who our favourite players are on the park, but who, in your opinion, is your favourite person to work with who comes from the pitch to the media department?
Do you want an overall name, or do you want me to break it down a bit?
You can break it down a bit.
Because I'd say, in terms of best players to work with, I think they can break that down into who's good for doing good features, who's good for when you need a bit of personality, and who's good for kind of when the shit hits the fan and you just need to be serious and have a sensible head. So in the latter, you go to like your captain material. So you'll go to Decky, you'll go to Sod, Stephen O'Donnell. Liam Kelly's emerging as one. Mark O'Hara's a great one. Ricky Lamy as well. These are all boys that can speak very well when things are going badly and they won't get tongue-tied, they won't panic, they won't be like, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to say, or they'll say something and then think afterwards, oh, I shouldn't have said that, the manager's not going to be happy with that. They know how to deal with like bad results or negativity from fans and stuff, and they know how to stay level-headed. So they're good for that sense. In terms of good features, maybe ties in a bit with like good personalities as well, like personality pieces. Again, I go to Declan. Declan Gallagher is class in terms of getting any sort of entertainment value.
Oh yeah,
Because he's a
absolutely
joker
is.
of the pack. So he talks very well, and he's quite a passionate person. He'll speak from the heart about things. And we did a feature with him for Inside Motherwell after the Israel semi-final, before the
Yeah.
final, and he just spoke so well about Scotland and what it meant to him. And there was so much we couldn't use just because it was going to be such a long piece, but he spoke so well about how like the phone calls he got afterwards and seeing his family afterwards, and like his wife coming to pick him up and things from the stadium, and little things like that you just, it was really nice to hear that sort of passion side of it. But then you also get guys like him on the pitch having a laugh as well on the training ground and being the joker of the pack. Bevis has emerged as one that's quite the character.
I enjoyed that one.
He's a good guy. So he's another one. Max Johnson, absolutely.
That was a surprising one. I did not expect to see one like that.
For a 17-year-old, and he was only just turned 17 as well. He'd never done an interview before, and he was absolutely brilliant. And I always kind of say to the boys, and I don't know how many of them actually take it in or even understand what I'm saying, but I say to them, like, try and incorporate my question into your answer, in the sense of, remember, my voice isn't going to be in the video, so if I ask you a question, don't just say yes, because people watching it will go, well, yes, what do you mean? What are you answering? So try and repeat what I'm saying almost. Some boys get it, some don't. Max just got it instantly and was rolling with it for everything. And it's just like, wow, like you sound like you're years beyond what you're at right now. So if he is going to go far if he keeps that sort of level-headedness. Alan Campbell as well. What a guy. Al's probably up there as one of my favourites, if not leading. He is your all-round, just your gentleman. If you want him to do something, he will do it. No complaints. It's just, yeah, that's fine.
Sign a contract.
If you
No.
if you want him to say something, he'll say it. If you don't want him to say something, he won't say it. It's quite funny watching him, even in press conferences, having been the journalist on that side of things.
Yeah.
And they'll ask him something, if something controversial has happened and he doesn't want to talk about it, he will just not give them a sniff. And you can see the journalists trying to think of ways to ask again, and I'm on kind of the sidelines just thinking, goodbye. Like,
he'll just say we played great today.
You know. He knows how to deal with that.
I love that.
That went down. That was a strange one, didn't it? I wasn't expecting the fans to. They were buzzing off that.
The fact that it's such a question you want to avoid, so you just answer, no, we just played great today.
I think that's gonna be a running joke for a while. Steve McDonald's another good one. In terms of personality, just full of life. Just chats so much. Just talks. Sherwin Seedorf as well. What a little firecracker of a personality he is.
Like, me and him became best pals over FIFA. Like, he just shouted, "Goggsy, ball please," all the time on Pro Club.
Aye, he's class. No, there's some good boys there. So in terms of working media wise, yeah, there's different boys you go to for different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
You won't expect certain boy, like, you're not going to get certain boys are just not good talkers. Doesn't mean they're bad people. It just they're not comfortable on camera. They're not as chatty. Yeah. I mean, guys like Devante's not a great talker. Liam Polworth's not either. Even boys who you think might be, like Dunny, who is one of your biggest characters at the club,
yeah,
clams up when a camera's on him.
Yeah, I actually got to interview Dunny. I was at the club. It was just before we played Aki's a couple of years ago, and I got to interview Boli Aribi, who I believe was great with the media as well, Richard Tate and Dunny. And I feel like Dunny was the most difficult interview because like I think it took me a couple of questions to sort of win him over before he would be like completely
Yeah,
opening up, which I was
I mean,
absolutely fine with. I love a challenge, but like I didn't expect it to be that difficult
that's
to
the thing. You don't expect it because of the personality he is around the
yeah.
place. I mean, you walk in for lunch and he's chatting away to you like he's your best pal, and he'll be talking to you about everything and anything, and it's great. But then you put him down in an interview situation, and this was, I think, the first time I interviewed him was on pre-season last year, uh, 2 years ago now. And I'd obviously seen bubbly, nice, happy personality off the pitch and everything away from the camera. And then when I stuck him down in front of the camera, he clammed up, and I was a bit like, oh, like, and it was a challenge, obviously a challenge for me to try and then deal with that. But then you learn what boys like and what they don't like, and you work with it. So instead, what we did with him, instead of just sitting down going, right, how's your season going? How do you think the boys played at the weekend? Were you happy with your goal? I think it was just after the Hamilton Accies game last season. And instead, what we did was we were like, right, let's see more of his personality. So we took him to the SSPCA and got him to
Oh yeah, the dogs.
experience something. Yeah, so we thought, right, well,
Yes.
what we'll do is we'll make him up because we know he's a bit of a personality, but we won't put him in a sit down environment where we ask him set questions, and we just go and experience it, go and have fun, and just go and be yourself, and don't worry about us. We'll follow you a camera, but we're not going to ask you questions. And he just came out of himself, and it was out of that shell. And he was completely done. He was the personality you see on his Instagram stories all the time, and it was lovely. And it worked to be such a better piece than what it would have been had we just asked him about the game at the weekend.
Oh, absolutely. Like you do have those characters that you sort of need in football, and unfortunately, it may not just be a straight talking situation, but
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes that's even the better content when you just sort of go that extra yard to get a mile from them.
Definitely. And it's all about learning who the boys are. I kind of like to sit down with them as much as possible when I first meet them. So a lot of them, it was when I first joined the club. And now more so when boys are signing, and
Yeah.
once they've settled a wee bit, I'll kind of sit down with them and kind of find out more about them. And they're probably a bit like, "What? Why are you doing this? Like, why do you want to know about me and stuff?" But I'll ask them things like "What kind of TV shows are you into? What are your Have you got any pets? Who do you live with?" And it's just trying to get that sort of idea of who they are off the pitch. I mean, we all know what they're like on it. We can all read our Wikipedia page and
Uh,
see what they do on a Saturday afternoon. But I need to know more about what they're like as a person, because a lot of the time footballers come across as quite dull. They're quite
mhm.
like clones of each other in that sense of
Sometimes depending on where they've been coached out of their creativity.
exactly, yeah, they're scared to put certain things on social media. They've been told to stick purely to the football. They don't talk a lot about opinions because it ends up in the papers, which is really annoying when the likes of like you'll reply to somebody, a player will reply to somebody on Twitter and suddenly it's a headline, and it's just
Yeah.
that's what's going to put them off showing their personality. Um, so I like to try and sit down and talk to them, find out more about them, and from there I can kind of almost shape their brand as a player and be like, right, okay, well, I know you don't like this, but I know you're keen on this. So let's work with it. Let's find out more about it, and then you can suggest features to them and they'll come back and they'll be like, yeah, I do like that, or I don't like that. We're so restricted just now. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd love to do a feature with a boy that's not walking in the park or in their back garden. It would be amazing. We've got so many good ideas, but right now we're just not allowed to do them. Trust me, the first chance we get to go to their house and actually do something inside would be so refreshing. But that we're kind
Or
of bound
piss
by
up at
government on that
Hamilton
one.
Bases. Or
or
piss
that,
up
or
at
that.
Hamilton Bases.
That's the end of season party.
Yeah, all right, of
um,
course.
but no. So there's little things like that. I mean, even we sat down with Mark O'Hara,
Mm.
and he's kind of like, right, well, how do we brand this player? And Mark's quite, he's and I don't want to insult him by saying this, because I did say it to him and I agree, but he comes across he's safe and he's maybe quite plain. So it's, how do you get around that, and how do you show him the actual side of him, because he's not plain and he's not safe, he's actually got a personality. It's just, how do you then show that through what we do and then what he does as well. And so we kind of talked about, he's very family orientated, and I was kind of saying to him, like, don't take this the wrong way, but you're kind of like the boy next door. You're so friendly and so easy to get on with and so easy to talk to, and it's almost like you're just a mate. Like, it doesn't feel like the glitzy footballer. It just feels like when he's sitting there, you can just chat to him like he's one of your friends. So we do want to show that off. He thankfully didn't take that as an insult. So all for that side of things, but also he's quite into just the love of the game, and quite keen on even just showing, like, teaching younger boys and stuff like that side of things. And it's frustrating because we came up with all these plans for him. He wants to do like his own kind of YouTube stuff, his own TikTok stuff. And we're very happy to either film things for him or just lead him and advise him. But all this happened at the start of the year, when he picked up his injury. And it's just been such bad timing that he's been on the sidelines. Because I'd kind of went to him with a TikTok video that I'd mocked up, and I said, look, it's not the finished product, but it's something, it's an idea. It's that sort of idea of taking a song that's popular on it and putting some match footage to it. He absolutely loved it. But it was right after he got his injury, and he was like, I just, obviously I can't do it right now. And it's not the best for me to be going out and, and doing things in my spare time, which is just understandable. These things happen. But hopefully when he does get back and things get returned to normal, you'll start to see more of his personality coming out, either through our page or through his own content.
Funnily enough, right, I'll tell you this wee story about Mark O'Hara, right? This is when he was at Dundee. So this would be I was at 4,000 subscribers back then, so it'd be about 2-3 years ago, maybe. Because I've got a few pals that support Dundee, I sometimes go to Dens Park when Motherwell aren't playing, when I'm off duty. And yeah, I say that. But
I know how that feels.
So live and breathe football. But it was the calendar signing night at Dens Park. It was mid-December. It was a Monday night, and because my mate Fraser had made the journey from where he stays in the Central Belt up to Dundee, I was like, I'll come up and might have a wee chat for about half an hour before you go back home. And so I was there in the queue. Like, obviously I didn't have a calendar because, like, I've got all these Motherwell calendars at home. I didn't want to upset the apple cart. And I'm standing with Fraz after the event, and Mark O'Hara comes past me saying, you got any videos for tonight? as in he actually recognised me.
That's class.
That was the first time a non-Motherwell player had actually said hello.
That's brilliant. That's really nice. That's really, really nice. And that's the thing, he's just so grounded. He's so grounded, and I really like that. And I mean I used to work at Celtic, and dealt with big names and dealt with big egos. Not necessarily the same. They don't always go hand in hand. And it's nice to come to a smaller club, which I always said I wanted to try. I always said I wanted to try and be at a small club to live that sort of culture and see how different it is. And I really, really like how down to earth people are. They're humans first and footballers second.
Yeah.
And it's refreshing because it feels like you're all in it together. And there were times at Celtic where you'd be like trying to get an interview and try to do work and stuff, and you'd be like, we're club media, we're not in it to get you, like we're all in it together here. We work for the same company. And they'd be like, no, I don't want to do it. Whereas if you ask a boy at Motherwell, it's of course. There's no contention there. It's, of course, what do you want to do? When do you want to do it? I'll come and get you. And you can trust them to turn up at your door, at the office door, and come and see you when they say they're going to see you. And if any of them forget, and you just drop my text to, and it can be, I'll just drop them the eyes sometime, and then they'll be like, oh, yeah, and they'll be like, oh shit, sorry, I forgot, and they'll either say, they'll say, I'll come back, or they'll say, can we do it first thing tomorrow morning? There's never, it's genuine, and you believe that from them because they're good boys. They're really, really down to earth boys. It's a good.
I get it because my uncle is Mark Bonas, who's at the club for 15 years or so. So like, I often got to do interviews with players through my uncle Mark, which was absolutely amazing for me because like as a wee kid growing up and on this podcast I've had Scott McDonald, who was my first idol, and he gave me 3 hours of his time.
Oh my god!
Yeah, 3 hours.
That's class. That's nice. That's really nice.
It was just amazing. So I want to ask you, what's your favorite memento or piece of advice you've picked up?
God, mementos. I think. Well, we'll do memento first, and then advice after. Memento, as in physically, like something that I've gained. I'd say I've got two. Obviously, I mentioned working for Celtic, and I'd picked up at the time. It was when the two keepers at the time, it was Lucas Luska and Fraser Forster, and they went on their clean sheet run. I think it was 25 clean sheets for the season was the record. I think it was. I'd need to double check that, but it was a lot. And I'd got their gloves, so I got Zaluska's gloves, and then it was. God, it was the Scottish Cup. It might have been the Scottish Cup final against Motherwell, actually. The really rainy one in 2011.
The 2011 one. Kevin Gunning hit the bar.
It might have been that. I'd need to double check seasons. I think it was that game because Fraser Forster had promised me his gloves to complete the set. Yeah. So I went to him after the game because everyone went back to the stadium and I went to speak to him and he was like, yeah, I'll get you the gloves for you. And they were sodden, like soaked right through. So they were stinking.
I bet they're probably still soaking now.
God, they're in a box somewhere. I kept saying I'd frame them, like one of these box frames, and I just never have. It's one of these things that you just never get around to. So I'd say that was quite a good memento to have. The other thing is David Turnbull's shirt from last season, which I kind of feel like it was really nice. It was so what happened was we went back at the start of the season, the first day back. The boys went in even before training started. It was the first day we'd all seen each other since before lockdown, and we all everyone came individually, and they were to go in one door and walk through the dressing room, collect a box of all of last year's stuff to keep, and then their new kit for the season, and then walk out the other door, and it was like a conveyor belt. And then eventually it became like boys dotted about the car park, all talking to each other at a distance. And it was a lovely sunny day. Everyone was really happy because it was like the reunion again. Yeah. And I spoke to David when he turned up and I'd said to him, like, obviously like this shirt means a lot to him in terms of he came back and he got to play, which was the big aim of last season. And thank God he did before lockdown happened because that could have been a very different documentary. But he obviously that strip was going to mean something to him, and I said to him like, if you don't want to keep it, then I know a good home for it. And he, as David does, he kind of takes it in and he's like, "Oh, right, hold on, I'll think about it. I'll let you know," as he does. And I thought he was going to like come back and be like a week later or something, if anything. And he came back literally 2 minutes later, and he was like, "No, this is daft. If I take this, it's going to sit in a cupboard at home. Like, you have it." And it was that sort. It was really nice because he was like, "No, like you did a lot for me last season, and I know it'll like I know that's something that can go hand in hand with all the work you did and stuff." And I just thought that was really nice because it does mean a lot because obviously I followed him. I was his shadow for 9 months. He became like my boy. I became like a kind of proud mum by the end of it. And it was nice just for him to also mark that and recognise that. He sat with us at the end of that documentary the day before it went out and watched the whole thing through. And at the end of it, you could see in his face, he was just like, wow. And I think he was surprised as well. And again, we kind of said to him, like, you don't need to say anything just now. obviously because we removed like 5 of us, we were like, go away, have a think of it, take a copy, show your mum and dad. If there's anything at all you're not happy with that you want changed, let us know. Go and watch it again, think it all through and stuff, let it all settle in. And because you don't want them just to sort of be like, oh yeah, that was great, yeah, fine, okay, thanks, bye. You want them to sort of really mean it. So he went away and he texted me that night and he was like, no, really, really happy with it, mum, dad, love it. There's no changes at all.
Right.
Go with it. And I think he kind of recognised it as well, that the work we'd put into it. So it was just nice to kind of get that shirt at the end of it to kind of represent that season and what it kind of the journey he'd been on, and the kind of I don't want to take it away from him, but the journey I'd kind of been on as well. It went hand in hand with it. So I mean, it was nice.
You're absolutely spot on. I mean, the amount of work you do in terms of content wise, like a lot of people do not see that side. And I think what we need to sort of show is like the amount of work that goes in behind the scenes that helps contribute to the match day, because it's all an experience for everyone. And a big part nowadays is what content you consume on the match day itself, as well as just the match. Like even when you're sitting on the train going to the game, you see the team lineup. On the train back, you see the highlights. Yeah. It's just like everything. Like the club posts how many times a day?
Oh God, on a match day, you mean?
Like on a match day, yeah.
Adds up. And I know we don't do the match day updates as often as we used
to.
But
no, I know that.
Honestly, a match day it's chaos for us, and we have a team of 4 of us on a match day. We're doing a lot, and I kind of, especially with the video side of things, I direct that on a match day, so I'm kind of overseeing everything. Going in first thing in the morning to get the equipment ready, making sure everything, small things like making sure batteries are charged, and everything's in the right place for that. You've got all the equipment for the right people in the right places, so they know where it is, they know what they can grab at the last minute, and setting up GoPros and make sure they're all right and the batteries are charged, things like that. I mean, I say that it's such a small part, but see when you've got something like the St Mirren 4-each game in the Cup or the Coleraine game, and you've got extra time and penalties and you're changing ends every 15 minutes, it becomes a logistical nightmare. Yes. I'm glad I had the St Mirren 4-each game as a practice run before the Coleraine game for me to have a steady head. That was good. And what kind of helped was also with no fans in the ground for the Coleraine game, it meant I could turn around and I could shout orders to the guys in the stand. Because like things like Ali was in the stand doing things like for Twitter and stuff, and I'm shouting to him, Ali, I need you to change that GoPro battery. So little things like that. But obviously on a match day, so much goes into it. You've got like Grant will be running around doing things, setting up the commentary for the TV stream, making sure the TV stream is working properly. And if it's not, he's got to deal with the problems at that end. You've got Ali doing like sorting the team lineups for both sides, getting all them printed off for the journalists coming in. You've got Scott who comes in the match day to help out. He's around town. He's been coming in. He's kind of part-time, and he's taken all. He's quite good in terms of I kind of set him the tasks to film, and he'll go away and film them. So he'll film the boys arriving. He'll film just what's happening around the stadium, really. Obviously not so much this season is happening compared to last year, but getting all the set footage and everything that we need. And then when it comes to the actual game itself, we've got him filming behind a goal on the match action itself. And then you've got me filming, as I was saying earlier, the players. So I'll go kind of on the kind of 18-yard line almost. So I'll kind of go, when we're shooting to the south stand, I'll be on next to the disabled shelter. And then when we're shooting in the second half, I'll be those kind of steps near the dugout. I'll be positioned there. And then at full time, you've got the chaos of even small things like changing lenses, because I've got to go on the pitch to talk to the players, get a player, get all the full time reaction. And it's little things like changing lenses round and see when the game is still in the balance at stoppage time. You're juggling there. You're like, I don't want to come off because I don't want to miss something important, but I also don't want to run the risk of a player running straight down the tunnel and you're like, oh, what plan B sort of thing. So there's a lot goes into it. There's a lot goes into
it. So talking about Mementos, I show everyone this, like every viewer that has got this far will know that I show everyone who comes on the GOG pod this signed artwork of James McFadden scoring that goal in Paris.
What a moment.
Yeah. Aye, so it says, to Gogsy, happy 18th, best wishes, James McFadden.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely class. What a memento to have.
I know, I've had it for 3 years now.
Were you in Paris? Did you go?
I was 7 or 8 at the time.
Oh,
so,
were you? Oh my god.
don't
I
want to
feel
make
so
you feel
old.
old.
Oh my god.
I mean, I did have a special memory of that night though, because like usually when it was a big Scotland or Scottish game, my mum would usually want me to go to bed because it was a school night usually. But my dad was like, "No, I've got a funny feeling about this night," and then 5 minutes later, Faddy does that, and I'm like,
Oh my god. That was before I travelled, to be fair, so I wasn't in Paris either. And a lot of my friends won't let me forget that.
Yeah.
But no, it was a couple of years before I started travelling. So I was in a pub with my mum and dad. If I'm not away with my friends travelling, I'm always watching the games with my mum and dad.
Mhm.
Just what I've always done. And we were in the pub watching it, and I've never seen tables and pints fly like that in my life. And I was sitting on the floor watching it because it was so crowded. And I love that. It's something I've always liked doing because, God, it takes me back to the World Cup '94. I was really young. I must have been about 6. And I didn't like football. I wasn't into it then, but we were on holiday in Spain at the time, and my mum and dad wanted to watch the final. And we were in this restaurant, and I remember the restaurant had like a kind of pub attached to it and a swing park. So I went out to play in the swing park while they watched. Oh my God, what was it? It was Brazil that won it, wasn't it?
Yes,
Was it
Brazil.
Italy. Yeah, it was Brazil and Italy. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And they were
Brazil's
sitting in
penalty.
this pub area of this bar watching the game, and I remember they were sitting on the floor because it was so crowded,
Yeah.
and the atmosphere was amazing. And I came in to find them from the park, so I was bored in the park, and I was like, right, I'm coming in. And I remember being like, oh, this is actually quite fun. Like, just I didn't have a clue what was happening on the screen, but I remember sitting on the floor and everyone was like shouting and screaming. I was like, oh, this is quite fun. So ever since then, when it's been busy in a pub, I like to sit on the floor and watch
Really?
the games. Yeah. I mean, I don't like to just sit on the floor if I'm the only one in the pub and it looks weird, but it was so crowded and I was quite happy to be like, I'm the one that's taking the floor. Like, I'm going for it. And that was amazing. I mean, I got a pint in my head when Faddy scored.
So when Faddy was actually at the club, you're like, thanks a lot for that.
Yeah. Although the thing is, like, obviously, I've not worked with Faddy, but I kind of don't want to because I kind of don't want to work with my heroes. And
Right.
I don't like.
Rather
People
he
will tell
stays
me
on that pedestal.
Yeah, people will tell me, "Oh, Faddy's a great guy, and Faddy's this and Faddy's that, and he's brilliant, and he's obviously so highly thought of."
He's so
at the
humble as
club.
well.
Yeah, and when he does come in, he always comes across as a really nice guy and stuff, and he's always very pleasant. But I don't want to break that barrier, and I don't want to get to know him and work with them because I just working in football. I don't really have a lot of heroes because to me they're all people.
They're all
Especially in the last 10
workers.
years, they're all colleagues almost, or I see them as the humans that they are. So it's strange for me to idolize players. So I kind of like having that idol and keeping it that way and keeping them separate.
I respect that. I actually really respect that. So off the top of your head, where have you been to see the national team play?
Oh my God. A lot of places, let me think.
I'll start.
Norway.
I'll
Okay.
start. I've been to San Marino. That's it so far.
Oh, I've been to San Marino, but not for a Scotland game. I've been to, let's see, Norway, Sweden, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Spain, Georgia,
Oh God.
Slovakia, Slovenia, Czech Republic, obviously Wales, Dublin, and London. So yeah, God, that's just off the top of my head.
Wow.
Yeah, did a lot of traveling with the Tartan Army.
I take it the 80 quid ticket for, was it Peru, sort of deterred you from
Yeah, it was the money involved, it was the timing involved, there was a lot of things went into that one. I really wanted to go to was it Jacksonville when he played USA?
was that the game we got beat like 5-1.
Oh, 5-1. Oh, it was awful.
Oh.
It was absolutely awful. But I was I couldn't afford it at the time. And I think I had something on. I think it was like something 2 days after the game, and I was trying everything to try and work out how I could get back in time for it, and I couldn't. So I was very jealous of my friends that went to that one. But and Japan as well was one I missed.
Oh, yeah.
That was short. That was just after I started going, because my first game was Amsterdam. I didn't actually get to go to the game. I went to Amsterdam, but couldn't get a ticket, so watched it in the pub. So that was my first trip. So that was 2009.
Was that a 3-0 game?
Yeah, it was a 3-0 game.
Yeah.
So Japan was not long after that. So I'd made friends, but they weren't like good enough friends to then book up for Japan. So I kind of missed out on that one. Some of them, I mean, I've made friends for life through traveling with the Tartan Army. I mean, things are very different now, because at the time we were all quite young. Oh God, I would have been about, it was uni time I started going, so I was kind of early 20s anyway. I started going on trips, and it was that way of breaking out, and you meet some people and then you meet more. And my group of friends now, I originally met them in a fountain in Oslo.
In a fountain?
Yeah, they were in
the
a fountain. I wasn't personally in the fountain. I was walking back from the pub with a couple of guys to our hotel, and we were like, ha, look at these idiots in the fountain. And I don't mean like big style. I mean, it wasn't like a big party. It was like probably 2 in the morning or something. But they'd done the thing of, we're just gonna dip our feet in. The annoying thing you see when you know, like when you're sober and you see drunk football fans, you're like, these are idiots, right? These are annoying me. And we were like, let's go over and laugh at them because they're being idiots. And then they actually turned out to be quite nice. And we ended up, we kind of kept in touch and stuff. And through them, we ended up making more friends. And it was like a domino effect.
Yeah.
And we end up, we've got a big group of, God, there must be about, I mean, I'd say about 12 good friends. And then it breaks out into about double that in terms of people who would go on trips. I mean, like down to Wembley when we went down for both games, actually, the friendly in 2013, and then the qualifier a couple of years ago, we got the train down, and it was like the party train. I mean, it's as I say, to sober people, we are the most annoying people in the world. I think that's to everyone. Sober people, to sober people, drunk football fans are the most annoying people in the world. But from when you're in that environment and you're with a big group of friends like that, it's different class. It's absolutely like, and for someone like me who doesn't have a club, I don't get it very often. So Scotland that's where my money and my emotions go. So you live it up.
Love that. Absolutely love that. I've actually, is that a cat?
Yeah, she's walked in. She'll be shouting at me for attention in a minute.
Fair enough. I've actually already booked up for Moldova and the Faroes.
Oh, nice.
So I'm hoping that we get to go.
Yeah. I've not booked up yet for I've booked up for Wembley for the Euros, because that's an easy one. But I've not booked up for qualifiers and stuff yet. It's very different now because, as I say, when we started traveling as a big group, we were at uni, and we could pick up and go whenever we wanted. Book a holiday off work, and that was it. They all kind of got married and had kids, and it got a wee bit harder for them to take the same time off from the family. Whereas I'm still like, I want to go to the games. I'm still living my life. So it's not very often now that the big group get together. We will for the Euros, obviously, but it feels very much now that we're all kind of grown up a bit more, that it's you pick and choose the big ones, or you go with different people. Just travel with different people. So it's not quite the same as it was. It was a very, very good spell of maybe kind of 5-6 years of traveling. And I have been on trips since then with other people. But it's memories that'll live with me forever. Seeing countries that you wouldn't get to see, like Georgia and stuff. We went to Georgia.
Georgia's not a hotspot, is it?
We took the long route on purpose. I came up with the idea, and I floated it it was a smaller crowd of us. It was probably the last time that we kind of went as a group. It was 5 of us, and I floated it to them, and I was like, guys, I've come up with some mental route. Hear me out. It's really cheap. We'll get to see lots of different countries. Do you want to do it? And they were like, yeah, let's do it. We flew to Turkey, slept on the airport floor in Turkey.
Nice.
Flew to Azerbaijan, and we had a day there. Then got the overnight train from Azerbaijan, for Baku, got an overnight train to Georgia, had the game. Wonderful game that was. And then again, and then flew home we went to Ukraine, and then we went to, oh my God, I'm missing one. There's one in between. And then we ended up in Latvia. Oh no, we went from Ukraine to Latvia. That's what it was. And I think it was Brussels was a connection after that.
Ah,
So we ended up ticking off like 6 countries in 5 days or something.
right.
And I think you'll find a lot of the Tartan Army will do something similar. But I mean, our others maybe just want direct flights in and out and get to the pub as fast as possible. That's not really me. I much prefer to see a country. Tick off, especially if I've never been before. I want to see the country. I want to go the craziest route possible for as little money as possible because I'm an absolute tight arse. And then I want to see the game. And drinking in the pub's just an extra for me. I don't like being drunk for the
Or
game.
sitting on the floor in the pub.
Yeah. I don't like being drunk for the game. And I know that might sound strange, but I don't mind drinking on the day of a game, but I in no shape or form want to be paralytic. I want to see if I spent all that money. I want to see the game.
Yeah.
I want to actually remember what happens. So very much can join in the socializing side of things, but I've found in times I've actually left the guys in the pub and went and just had a wander around to see the place because I want to see the city. There was a time in Brussels we did an amazing trip. It was Wales, it was Cardiff, and then Brussels with a stop at London in between because we've got the train over. And we'd spent so long in pubs, and I was so bored of sitting in a pub. And I mean, Wales and London's not quite the same in terms of seeing the place, but when we got to Brussels, I had a few friends that were going to Bruges for the day. And I was like, a different group of friends, but I was like, guys, I'm just going to leave you in this pub. I'm going to go to Bruges, going to spend the day there. We got a canal boat around Bruges, seeing the place. Felt proper cultural. Did that, went back at night, and they were still sitting in the pub, the same pub. And we ended up having a lock-in that night, but the time I'd got back, I ended up having a great night. But they were all paralytic from the entire day, and I didn't feel like I'd missed anything. Because it wasn't like I'd arrived and they were like, oh, 1 pint and we're going home, Laura. It was like, we're living here now. So, no, yeah, as I say, I mean, obviously it's a great time for drinking, but I'm not all about it's not just the drunk trip for me. It's more than that.
Nah, absolutely not. And now I've finally started going to Scotland games. It's no longer just a barren 2 week of just waiting for the next Motherwell match. I'm actually starting to appreciate international football as well.
Do you mean you're a glory hunter? You jumping on the bandwagon because we're successful now?
No. I've been there since the San Marino game.
All those years ago.
Aye, well, it feels like it. So where were you the moment Mitrovic had his penalty saved by Marshall?
I was in my living room with my mum and dad at their house, and I mean, I wouldn't have spent it any other way. Obviously, being in the ground would have been ideal, but see if I'd had the choice between being in a pub with mates or being at home with mum and dad, that might sound really soppy, but I've grown up every home game at Hampden. I've sat with my mum and dad since my first game was in 2000, so 20 odd years. We've done the home thing together, and then I go away with my friends. So because that wasn't really an option to go away, it just felt like it was right. They've obviously, I've never experienced qualifying, and I wanted to experience it with them, and so it was just the 3 of us in the living room, and oh my God, what a night. I have never experienced anything like that before. And I kind of touched on it earlier about how, as a Scotland fan, you've not really got much to shout about. That was incredible. And obviously there's always going to be a part of you that goes, God, imagine we'd been in the ground for that. Imagine we'd actually been there. It's always going to be that niggling regret at the back of your mind. But my God, see the moment. I was pacing. I was absolutely pacing. I could not sit down. I could barely watch the penalties. It was that way of you get the tingling feeling in your hands and stuff. And every time a boy sticks up, you're like, he's going to miss. He's going to miss. That's it. You're trying to like psych yourself off for, no, he's missed it. He's missed it. And hope that you've sort of reverse jinxed him in a way.
Yeah.
And then when obviously Marshall got his hand to it, you're you're kind of, it's a shock. You're like, ah, like, what? And then we're jumping about, shouting and screaming, and then I think we were like on the floor. There was arms everywhere. They were on top of me. I was at the bottom of a pile between the three of us. And then through all the arms, I saw Marshall looking at the ref and doing that sort of that look, and I thought, oh my God, no! Like, and it was suddenly like 20 years of pain and torture suddenly flashed in front of my eyes, and I thought, here we go again. That's going to be taken again. And it was the split second. It was the shortest time frame ever, but to me it felt like the longest, because I don't think my mum and dad noticed, but I stopped and I was like, oh my God. And then I kind of shouted something like, is that it? Like, are we getting it? And they were just like, yeah, of course we're getting it. And then you see all the players running down, you're just like, carnage. And I didn't know what to do with myself, because see, when you're crying and you're laughing and you're shouting, and then all your friends are like FaceTiming you and stuff, and you're like getting phone calls and texts, and God knows who you're talking to, because it's all happening in a blur. And it's nice because everyone's going through the same emotions at the same time. But then see, when you actually sit down and you think, right, what's next? And to me, it's always, right, I'm going to look at the table. What's the permutations? Right, who are we playing the next game, and what do we have to do to win? Who do we need to lose, and who do we need to beat who to help us out here? And suddenly you're looking at the table thinking, wait a minute, there is no table. We've done it.
We've done it.
Now what? Like, I don't know what this is meant. I don't know what to do. I don't know what this feels like.
I didn't know how to react.
No. It was a completely new feeling for me. I've never experienced that before. I got into football watching the World Cup in '98, so I've seen us at a tournament from afar, but I've never experienced the clinching part of it. And to me, that is the moment I've lived for going to Hampden for 20 odd years. It is for that exact moment. Of course, it didn't happen at Hampden after all that, but all that pain, and everyone always asking you, why do you keep going? Why are you wasting your money on this? And why are you traipsing across the world to see them getting beat by Georgia? And you're like, because you knew it was going to, like, when it did happen, it was going to be worth it. And all that pain, you forget about it all. And suddenly it's like, it's the greatest thing in the world being a Scotland fan. What pain? What torture? Oh, I don't remember any bad games, any bad results. It's the greatest thing in the world, supporting Scotland.
Like, as football fans, we chase a moment.
Yeah.
And, I mean, for example, I went to Celtic Park for the first time in December 2015. Louis Moult scored twice. Motherwell won 2-1. Since then, every time I've been back to Celtic Park, we've been battered black and blue. But I'm still not going to give up in chasing that moment again.
Exactly. Because it'll be all the sweeter when it comes round.
Exactly. I mean, it could be 20 years till we next win at Celtic Park. I'll be there when it actually does happen again. Like, I could have a grey beard by then. I don't know.
God, I always remember, like, after the World Cup '98, because when we went out, and I didn't really quite grasp, like, all right, that's us out. And I remember saying to Mum and Dad, okay, when's the next one? And they were like, 4 years. And I just turned 10. Like, my birthday's right at the start of the World Cup, so it's always like the first day of the World Cup. So I just turned 10. And they're like, 4 years. And I'm going, what? I'll be a teenager by then. So I need to wait 4 whole years for Scotland to be in a World Cup. And you think back and you go, oh my God, Laura, if you'd told yourself then that you'd be 33 when Scotland qualified, and not even for a World Cup, just qualified for something.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's a scary thought to think that I was complaining about 4 years.
And,
but I invested and I made that journey. So,
and you know for a fact that we're going to qualify. Well, we've qualified for the Euros. We're going to qualify for Qatar, and then we'll never qualify for anything again.
I know. This will be it. We won't be allowed to get fans at Euros. They won't postpone it. It'll be crap. And then we'll get to the World Cup, and there'll be some sort of problem with that as well, because it's in Qatar. And it's completely our luck. I mean, qualifying in a year when we've got a worldwide pandemic, no fans can be in the ground, and then the tournament looks like it's going to be the worst in history. It's so Scotland. It is the most typical Scotland thing ever. It almost to the extent where I'm like, I'm not even going to count it as a real one. I'm still going to the clock's still going to reset afterwards. I'll enjoy it because obviously we'll get to watch Scotland games. But see, I'm trying not to convince myself yet one way or the other what it's going to be like in June, because I can't bring myself to accept that I'm not going to get to even just be there in the fan zones and the pubs and everything. I can deal with that because I can just tell myself, oh, it's like the other side of the world and we couldn't get to it or something. But I can't deal with watching it in my living room. That's not what a tournament's all about.
Half the games are on our own doorstep as well.
I hate that. I don't know if I'm alone in that, but I've never liked the idea. I've always kind of been quite vocal about that. You dream of the day you look at your passport, and it's daft things like saying, is that when you're talking about a player getting into the squad and you go, is he going to make the plane? Will he be on the plane? And it's like, no, there's no plane. He's going to Mount Florida. It's like, I mean, I could jump on the 75 bus and get to Hampden. I've done it for friendlies. I've done it for the worst games I've ever seen in my life, and I could be doing it. Oh god, yeah. And there's a long list of those. But then suddenly it becomes a whole different environment. And look, when you're in the moment, see if we get to go, I will not be complaining. As we were kind of saying earlier, no one's going to complain about anything now when things open up again. So you'll take these little things, and it might end up being a silver lining that we have them, because if it's only home fans that get to go, on the home turf, then we've kind of got lucky in that sense. With it being a home game, like the likes of Czech Republic and Croatia missing out in that sense. I'm second guessing things here, but I'm very nervous about the decision next month of what's going to happen.
Me too. Scotland have never made it out of a group before in the major finals. Is 2021 the year?
I couldn't care less. Honestly,
we're there. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
And you know what? That might sound small time. I get slagged a lot because, and it's mostly the Totally Football Show podcast. When I do it with JJ, and he's an Aberdeen fan, and I have a kind of on-running jokey slagging match with him, in the sense of, well, why, if Aberdeen are one of the biggest clubs in the country, why are they not going for the title, especially when Rangers weren't in the league? Why are they not trying to win the league? That was their time, that was their moment. Oh yeah, it's great fun. But I kind of do mean it in a way, because for me, you play to win. What's the point in turning up if you're not in it to win it? And God, don't believe for a second that I'm not in Euro 2020 not to win it. I want Scotland to win it, and we're going there to win it. Obviously, because we're the greatest team of all time now, and David Marshall's going to win us the Euros, obviously. Yeah. But at the same time, see, when you've waited this long, I just want to be there. And okay, fine, we may get thumped 3-0 in the first game, I might feel a wee bit differently, and you can kind of quote me on it. But
end it all.
Right now, it doesn't feel like a qualifying campaign where you've got an end goal. The end goal for me is being there. And almost in a way, the end goal for me is actually now just to have the fans there, because to me, tournaments, and this kind of harks back to the Copa 90 stuff, and obviously being such a big part of the World Cup coverage that we did, the tournaments are about fans. Tournaments are a party, and it's not a tournament. It's a job for the players in that sense, if it's any other way. I also remember, I went interrailing in 2008. I just missed the World Cup. Oh my god, no, it was the Euros. Sorry, the Euros. So I just missed out on traveling during the Euros time. But some of my friends had done it just before me, and they said they were in Germany for one of their games, and there were TV screens lined down the streets of Munich. I think it was Munich they were in. And they were these were girls that had absolutely no interest in football whatsoever. And they were saying they were caught up in it, in the atmosphere and stuff. And that kind of put that into my head of, that's amazing. I always, weirdly enough, every time I'm in Glasgow, I have this weird image of down Buchanan Street, of the TV screens being dotted right down Buchanan Street, with the big one being at the top at the concert hall.
Oh yeah.
And just having a sea of people the entire way down Buchanan Street for, like, you know, us in the World Cup final or something.
Oh yeah.
And then
Beating
being a part,
England.
yeah, and
Yeah,
then being a part
absolutely.
of, like, Copa 90 for the World Cup 2018, it was class because I got to I didn't go to Russia for the World Cup, but what I did was I went to different countries to see it from their perspective, and then I also went around a lot of places in London. It's amazing how many places you find in London that are the home of a certain culture. So, for example, I went to the Colombian area of London, which is Elephant and Castle, and watched the Colombia England game in a pub there. Obviously, they lost some penalties. It wasn't great. But I also remember a guy, there was a group of guys next to me, and I'm just there on my own watching the game, filming anything on my phone I can get of the fans. For content, and the guys kind of turned to me, and I don't know, he kind of said to me, he was like, you're English? Why are you here? And I was like, no, I'm not English, I'm Scottish. And he was like, oh, you hate the English too, come on. And they're like, welcome me into the group. So that was class. Like, you just kind of soak up the atmosphere with the locals. I wasn't literally in Colombia, but my God, that pub was rammed. I was literally up against a window, like like squished against the window, and there were people outside of the window looking in to try and see the screen. So it felt like you could have been in the middle of Colombia. It felt like it. So that was cool. Then like I went to Croatia for the quarter final they were playing Russia. This was a game that went to penalties.
Yeah.
And oh my God, this game. So we went to Zagreb, and we actually, the way the timing of it all worked out, we did all the interviews first, and then the game was the last thing that we covered. But we'd been told, because Croatia were going to get England in the semi-finals, we got told we're only going to do the piece if Croatia win the game. So we'd done all this work with all these really strong interviews, all telling the story of Croatian football, international football, which is such a hot topic and controversial topic in Croatia. We were finding out so much, so interesting, really good speakers. And I remember saying, like, text my boss being like, this is going to be a travesty if we don't do something with this. And he's like, no, unless they get England, we're not doing it. And I was like, oh my God. So I kind of felt like part of me had warmed to the Croatians by being there for long enough, but also part of me was being really selfish in the sense of I really wanted this video to get done after all this hard work that had gone into it. So by the time the game came round, it was the main square in Zagreb, and imagine it like George Square. And it was rammed full, big screen at the end, and they had a truck, a little van, but it had a kind of stage on top of the van, and that was for the media. So all the cameras were up there. So we had a position up in this little truck, kind of halfway along the square, at the side, and we had a view. It was a sea of red, white, and blue. It was incredible. So everyone was there, rammed in, and you've got all the kind of the bars down the sides, either sides of the square. I mean, you couldn't get out, and then so it was chaos. It was jammed in, flags and everything, wigs, obviously smoke bombs and pyro and everything were going off. But see when it went to penalties, I can't remember being that nervous for penalties. Obviously, I do now, having experienced it myself. But at that stage, I'd never seen penalties like that in my life. I was so nervous for them and for our content and everything. I just got so wrapped up in the whole thing, so caught up in it. See, when they won that penalty shootout, I was almost crying. Like, the media got so swept up in it as well. But the party that followed, the whole place, and I've probably got photos of it, I could probably post them or whatever, but the whole of the square was a sea of flares, of smoke bombs and flares, and people just dancing around them. Like, they were obviously creating a space for them, and people were dancing around it and stuff. And nobody was panicking. The police weren't bothered. It was just like, enjoy it. And the emotions that went into that, and then you're just walking about the streets afterwards, getting all the aftermath. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
That's absolutely amazing. Now we're going to go into the final round of questions. There's only a few left. It's the make or break round. It's the off-topic questions now. So the first one is, you have to make a match day playlist but you can only choose 3 artists. Who's in it?
Oh, see, I was having to think about this, right? And I can't think of exact artists, but I can tell you what my playlist would be like in terms of genres, right? So I would choose a dance artist, possibly like a kind of poppy dance artist, a party artist, so some sort of cheesy party anthem, and just in general a big anthem artist. Whether that is, like Oasis, Wonderwall, or something of that ilk. I think these 3 types of songs are the strongest to have at a stadium. None of this indie shite, that Speedy plays. He knows I don't like it. He knows I criticise him for that all the time. Do you like the indie? Do you like the indie stuff?
I love the indie stuff, but there's a time and a place for it.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is another thing I had a problem with playlists at Hampden, is I think whoever does them gets hung up on it being a Scottish artist because it's a Scotland game.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily get you hyped up for a game. Like, they're not always
great.
Are
just dodgy, really.
Yeah.
So,
let's play Biffy Clyro. It's like, let's not play Biffy Clyro.
No.
But I always remember my favourite stadium experience before a game was when Scotland played in Belgium, and it was a game we lost. I think it was 2-0. But see, before the game, inside the stadium, we must have been in for a good half hour before kickoff, and they played all these dance hits from like the early 2000s, late 90s, 2000s. Everyone knew every word to them. Proper cheesy pop dance hits.
Yes.
Everyone, and I mean, the Scotland end felt full half hour before the game. Everyone was on their seat, and it was little bucket seats like we've got in the Phil O'Donnell stand. So there were bucket seats, and everyone was standing on these bucket seats and having a party, like waving the scarves and the flags and the everything. And it felt like almost by the time the teams came out, we were like, oh, this is the encore. We've just had our party. I just think that's the best way to get up for a game. And I think we'd kind of made jokes about, I think, oh God, it was a game recently. It might have been the Kelly game. We went to midweek just there. And we were joking, going, oh, the DJ's playing like GBX. We can't hear a thing because he's playing GBX, and we're kind of joking about it, but see, at the same time, it got everyone fired up. Like, it might not be your kind of music, but you can't deny that it's
it works.
It's good for atmosphere, definitely. So yeah, that would be my kind of pick.
Okay, if you can make up a team of 5-a-side players that you've worked alongside, who'd be in it and why?
Worked alongside? I thought you were going to ask who had seen play in the flesh.
Aye, but then you threw that curveball that I didn't expect to say, that you'd worked with Celtic as well. So I was like, okay.
Oh my God. See, I was ready to list all the star players and be like, I've seen Messi play in the flesh, I've seen Ronaldo play.
Let's hear about the characters.
Right, okay, characters. Oh God, now you're catching me off guard now. I mean, Scott Brown's obviously a character.
Mm-hmm.
Not always for the best reasons, but yes, character definitely. You weren't safe from Scott Brown. If it was your birthday, you'd get flung in the pool. So yeah, things like that. So Scott Brown. Declan Gallagher has to obviously be in there. Can I get 2 of him because I worked with him at Celtic as well? So I get the same counts for Sod. In fact, I worked with Sods, Decky, and Tony all at Celtic, and I reunited with them at Motherwell. So I kind of feel like I've seen them growing up. Is it purely on characters, purely on personalities?
It could be like quality of player as well. It's fine.
Fraser Forster in goals then.
Yeah.
Although saying that, Mark Gillespie's pretty goddamn good.
Yeah.
Now I'm starting to. I miss Mark. Yeah.
Me too.
Mark was one of the ones I never got to say goodbye to because of the whole COVID stuff, and then he left.
But you still got to interview him.
I got to chat to him after he left, so that was good.
Yeah.
I put Mark in. I want to make it just Motherwell players. I don't want to make it Celtic players.
An excellent answer. I'll happily take that.
I'm going to go Mark in goals. Obviously very loose defensively. Right, put Decky in defensively. Put Sods in as well. I'm trying to think. Between Al and Mark. Ooh. I can't choose between them. Do you know what? No, take Sods out, put Mark in defence, and put Al in midfield, and put DT up top.
All right, I'll happily take that.
Yeah.
The boys will be happy with that. There's a few arguments in the dressing room next game, but
sorry, Sods. benched him
there. So picture the scene. You're in the pick and mix aisle of a sweet shop and can only choose 3 sweets. What do you choose and why?
Chocolate raisins.
Yes,
because they are immense.
Chocolate raisins.
Yep, definitely. Yep. Best sweet going out there, definitely.
So good.
Cola bottles.
Which type?
Between the ones that taste like shit and the ones that are actually decent.
I hope you're meaning like are you meaning the sugary ones?
Oh no, I thought you meant like you get the wee dumpy ones that kind of taste a bit. They're too hard.
They're a bit meh.
Yeah, they're a bit rubbish.
The ones you'd find in a Tang Fastics bag.
Yeah, whereas the longer ones are more chewy.
Yes.
But oh my god, the fizzy ones.
Fizzy ones.
Definitely. Oh my god, I used to. Oh god, that takes me back. I used to way before my my Saturdays were taken up with football. I used to go to like the shopping centre on a Saturday, as you do. And I used to get a picky mix from Woolworths every Saturday.
Oh, Miss Bailey's.
And obviously, like your mom's like, right, you're only allowed to have a certain amount, so don't go crazy because they just put any price on that when you take it to the till. And it was always, I got into habit, so I would always put in 6 cola bottles, and it was 6 of the non-fizzy ones and 6 of the fizzy ones. And I would everything I would eat it in or the order so that the fizzy one was the last one I had. Yeah. I always had the fizzy one for the last thing in my bag.
Do you do that with Skittles as well? Like, do you have like one colour first, then another colour next?
Not so much, but I don't like the orange ones, and the purple ones are the best.
Fair game. So what's your third sweet?
I don't know what they're called, but they're basically like the white buttons that have the hundreds and thousands on them.
Oh yeah, I know what they're. They are. I was talking about them the other day. I sold them in my dad's shop. I can't actually remember them. The name. And next time I'm in, I'll send you a picture of them, and then we'll get it all sorted. But I know what ones you're meaning.
Definitely.
Is it the Razzles or something?
Oh, it could be. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Testing my knowledge as sweetie connoisseur.
They're just like rainbow buttons, really.
Could be.
That's the unofficial name. That'll be like the Tesco own brand version of them.
That's a fair game. For me, it would be chocolate raisins, strawberry bonbons.
Oh, lemon bonbons, surely.
Oh, I've not heard that one be mentioned yet.
Oh, really? Oh, no. Sherbet lemons and lemon bonbons. Ooh. Although I'm a weirdo, I love lemons. I drink lemon juice straight. So.
And one more. Going back to my childhood roots, baby dolphins.
What baby dolphins?
What?
I must have missed the boat on baby dolphins. I don't know what they
dolphins. Are. What? They were in fashion in 2015.
Yeah, I was a child in 2015.
No further comment. Oh, but back on the Woolies, right? Funny thing is, right, the first time I ever went to Coatbridge was for a friendly between Albion Rovers and Motherwell, and on my way from one of the train stations in Coatbridge, I can't remember which one it was, I walked past the Woolworths and I felt like I'd gone back about a decade. Like it was just the shell of a building. It was just a Woolworths.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Oh, what a shop! Did everything.
I remember the mascots as well. They were great.
Oh god.
Right, so I've asked you all these fantastic questions. Do you have anything to ask me before we end?
Who is the best opposition player you've seen live?
Best opposition player that I've seen live. Now, there's been a few in Europe. Theofficialgog, the Greek striker, when he played for Levante. There's this boy I was impressed with for Panathinaikos, called Sissoko. He was on loan from Wolfsburg at the time. But then he dived in the second half, and I hated him after that.
Oh.
Also,
I hate Gareth Bale. I saw that firsthand. No, you can't redeem yourself.
In terms of Scotland, I was at both 4-0 defeats against Belgium.
Oh God.
Yeah, grim. But I got to see Kevin De Bruyne play, and he completely and we got to witness history with Romelu Lukaku scoring his 50th goal for Belgium as well. So, that's true. Just for that, but it's usually not a good answer when it comes to talking about opposition players.
Yeah, because they tend to have won.
Yeah.
True.
But yeah, apart from that, I'd like to thank you for your time. We've completely overrun what I was expecting, but
sorry.
No, I absolutely love it because more content for me, it's great. But I really enjoyed speaking to you tonight. Cheers, Laura.
Thanks for having me. It was nice to go down memory lane.
Yeah, not a problem. And those at home who have managed to stick around this long, thank you very much.
Sorry.
Not a problem. And of course, you can see all of Laura's fantastic work basically on any Motherwell social channel. She's the unsung hero in terms of the online content. So a lot goes very much unnoticed. So I thought I'd just say that.
Thank you. That's very nice of you.
But yeah, on that happy note, Trips, I've been your host, Goggsy99. I bet it was you. I'll see you later, guys. Take care.